Today, I'm announcing that the Liberal Party has reached an agreement with the New Democratic Party to deliver results for Canadians now.
What's the state of the Trudeau-Singh marriage? Is it still on? Are we headed for an early election? And is Justin Trudeau going to stick around for it? Hi, I'm Brian Lilley, political columnist with the Toronto Sun. Joining me, Warren Kinsella, political pundit and former master of the dark arts of politicking. Warren, where do you see things sitting right now? Because there's not a lot going on at the federal scene right now. We're getting more drip stories about the country not working like it should. Like we're not feeding our soldiers in Poland or reimbursing them for the food that they do buy. It's just constant more stories like that. The federal budget didn't really boost the Trudeau Liberals. So where are things sitting right now? Singh's making noise about not getting enough. Does the marriage stick with Trudeau and Jagmeet?
I think the marriage is in some trouble. And, evidence of that was, the Liberals were filibustering and denying and stonewalling on the Chinese interference scandal, keeping Katie Telford, the Prime Minister's chief of staff, from testifying. Trudeau was saying, I'm not going to have any inquiry into this. Well, what I'm hearing from people on the Hill is that the NDP said, you know what, enough is enough. We're not going to vote with you on these issues. And that's when the Liberals did this kind of about face that must have given them whiplash, because all of a sudden Katie Telford was testifying. All of a sudden Trudeau was announcing we're going to have a special investigator, a rapporteur into the file. I think that there is some trouble in the NDP Liberal marriage, because I think Jagmeet has finally figured out what many of us said a long time ago is Trudeau's problems become your problems if you get too close to the guy.
What about Trudeau himself? Does he take another kick at the can in a future election, or does he step down? I know that we've talked about this before, but things have not improved for him. He's a fighter. I think he wants to fight Poilievre. I think had Pierre Poilievre not won the Conservative leadership, I think he might have decided to step down by now. But he really seems, a little while ago that he was itching to fight Poilievre, but nothing's turning around for him. He's not in a good space.
No, and Nano's just out yesterday showing the Tories up by 8 points, nearly double digits over the Liberals. And, that is remarkable. That is significant when you consider that Poilievre does have, and Conservatives admit this, he's got some problems with female voters. He's got some problems with Quebec voters. Even so, even in light of that, he's nearly double digits over Trudeau. I know, because I've heard from people who have known Trudeau for a long time, he thinks he can beat Poilievre, but the numbers right now don't lie. Right now, if an election were to take place, Pierre Poilievre would be Prime Minister of Canada.
Well, and not quite majority territory, but knocking on it.
Enough. Well, actually, my argument with Conservatives when they deign to speak to me is like, you guys, minorities are good for you. Look what Harper did. Harper had successive minorities, and he showed people, I'm not going to get rid of abortion. I'm not going to get rid of gay marriage. I'm not going to get rid of health care. And what it did is it built his credibility, and so they rewarded him with a majority. I think having a minority first would be good for Pierre Poilievre.
In terms of replacements for Trudeau, I heard you on CFRA last week. You were doing a radio hit on my old radio stomping grounds in Ottawa. Frankie Bubbles, you said, may have done himself in. He's someone that you and I have both spoken about. Francois-Philippe Champagne, he's a leadership contender if and when that time comes, but you think he did major damage to himself recently. How?
He did absolutely, because I think you and I felt he was part of that proud, successful traditional Liberal Party when the Liberal Party became the most successful political machine in Western democracy, with Paul Martin and John Chrétien and John Manley and guys like that, where you're at the center. And that in order to pay for those social programs we all love, you've got to have a flourishing business economy. Well, what does Champagne do? all of us had such promise for him, felt that he had promise. He okays this deal between Rogers and Shaw. And that is going to lead to, it's like a multi-billion-dollar deal. It's going to lead to layoffs. It's going to lead to some cutbacks in order to pay for the deal. And it's rewarding a company that a lot of Canadians are still mad at. Rogers, going back to its outage, a lot of people felt like they never accounted for it. I had thought that Champagne was going to go after them for it. He didn't. They say that
he's saying that we're going to have lower cell phone charges and lower internet costs by having less competition. It is puzzling, and I agree with you. I think it does hurt them, but we'll have to wait and see if it's still hurting him by the time he gets his shot at reaching for the brass ring. Let us know what you think, folks. Drop a comment down below, share this on social media, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.